Ladies and gentlemen, now apologies, there's no camera today. I've got the flu and I'm literally just, walking into my studio. I wanted to sit down and record this. I actually really wanted to record it yesterday, but I was like absolutely knocked out. So I read this Sunday morning and like I was just in bed, dude, just angry for the whole day. I thought this was probably one of the worst posts I've ever seen from Kabam. And why does it annoy me so much? So the first thing is it acknowledges energy is a problem, right? And they're starting to make energy a problem again. What it doesn't do, in my opinion, is offer any sort of solution. And in fact, it goes a step further to say, hey guys, the energy problem now, it's going to get a lot worse. We're going to be requiring Battlegrounds entry to cost 10 energy. But trust us, guys, we're going to be adding more energy refills back into the economy to account for the removal of Elders marks. Now, I would say at the moment, I'm kind of in a state where I just don't trust Kabam, that they're going to do the right thing, that they're testing their content. That well has like almost dried up for me this month, because the launch of, Prestige 30 and this new tier of difficulty and format was just so poorly thought out and executed. I didn't get the impression that anybody had tested it. And then it was like, okay, I think it was like Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning, they did the video saying, obviously today, later, is going to be the update to the event quest. And with that is going to be coming the refined difficulty, and they appreciate and acknowledge the feedback. And I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe we're getting on the right track. And then the side event launches in the evening, and it's probably like the worst side event I've ever played. It's got all the same tuning as like the current EQ in terms of, health values and attack values if you did not have those booster nodes present. And it's so punishing as well. I was just like, it sucks. Like, it immediately made me very tilted playing through it. I played it through like 2 times, both times as well. I just got really tilted. I was like, this just feels really bullshit. So kind of my good faith I had from that morning just immediately evaporated when I played something, so poorly thought out, such as the side quest, that it makes me think like Kabam don't know how to do fun or interesting content that's going to make players excited to come back on a monthly basis. They just know how to make this spreadsheet content, this content you've got to do a lot of reading, a lot of planning for. And I think, in all fairness, that does have a place in the end game of Marvel Contest of Champions. But I'm a firm believer that place isn't the monthly event quest or the side events. I think for the most point, those should just be very fun, engaging, kind of you dive in, there's like a quirky little twist to it, and you get some fun rewards, and I want to have a good time. I want to feel kind of surprised. I want to feel excited. I want to feel after I've played something in the new monthly update, like, oh, that was really good. Like, I feel like I can now go and talk to people about, I actually really enjoyed that. I think they're doing quite a good job this month. But this month, dude, holy shit, have they just dropped it. And I think to do a post like this, and basically it all comes down to, trust us, guys, we're going to do it. You just don't have that trust currently. Like, the reality is a lot of people have played the last week and a bit. They've dove into this new content and they've just gone, this is really shit. I've never seen like the amount of like I'm genuinely quitting the game after 10 years posts than I have really this year in particular, but especially in the last couple of weeks, man. Like there's been a lot of things, and whether people do or don't, again, that remains to be seen. But I do think it's so severe that it is getting to the point where people that should not be quitting this game are quitting this game. And I think that is a very, very bad thing. I think we're not in a great place with Marvel Contest of Champions at the moment, and stuff needs to be addressed a lot more seriously. Now, to go back to this post, that was talking about trust, that was talking about the latest content, but this post, okay, so energy's a problem right now. A lot of people are noticing with the daily quests and obviously the new EQ and all of these things, they're just absolutely starving for refills. So for starters, the first thing they said is they're going to be reducing the solo raid's energy cost to 1 energy per tile. nobody really cares about solo raids. Okay, it's just like not the most consequential game mode ever out there. It's just that it's not like that at the heart of this problem. This is the concession. This is the big, okay, guys, we're gonna fix it. Solo raids, 1 energy per tile. It's like, okay, this feels like this should have just been done initially, right? Solo raids didn't need to have the higher energy cost that it does. So I don't even count this one as a win. Second, we're going to be removing the energies from the 4-hour crystals and adding 2 per week back into the Alliance weekly super event. Now, this is to essentially kind of like balance out the RNG and make sure you don't need to open your free crystals. This one, I think, is just, I view this as a negative overall. I think having the 2 in the weekly super event is a nice thing. I think removing it from the 4-hour crystals is not a nice thing, because again, most of the time you open the 4-hour crystals, right, it's like Act 9 through release. You want a big stack of energy refills to go through things. Like it coincides quite well with when you generally need those energy refills. Especially in this newer economy that we don't yet understand where the energy refill bottlenecks are going to be as well. So I think instead of removing it, they should have just added it into the Alliance Weekly Super event. But also, there's a subset of the player base, just due to the demands of playing in an Alliance, that do not even play this game in Alliance anymore because they don't want to keep up with Alliance Quest, Alliance War, Battlegrounds, whatever the stick is for that Alliance. Generally, if you get involved in an Alliance, unless you're very lucky to have a super chill one with a lot of veterans that have played this game for a while, then there are people that still play this game and are not involved in Alliance. And for them, this is just like a net loss on the energy refills. This isn't really much of a solution there. Now, the final thing as well is the depreciation of Elder's Marks. Battlegrounds entry is going to be changed to default 10 energy per match, and there will be more energy refills back into the economy to account for the removal of this. Over the next few months, the team will continue to assess the energy ecosystem. Stay tuned for a dev diary in the coming weeks that will explain in greater detail while we are making these and other changes to the game. Now, I can make the assumption that, again, the reason they're making these changes is because they want more unit spend, right? They want you to spend your units on energy refills. And I think reflecting back to, let's say, pre-2020, between 2015 and 2020, it was very commonplace that if you were free to play, or even the spenders as well, you would use units to buy energy refills. And kind of since post-pandemic, that hasn't really been the case. Energy hasn't really been a bottleneck because they have taken the monetization of this game in a very different direction. The game that we play now, in terms of how it is monetized versus the game that we were playing pre-2020, are 2 completely different games. Back pre-2020, players were happy, or at least willing, to spend units for energy refills because everything else felt fair in their eyes. If you were a Brian Grant style player, if you were one of the more hardcore free-to-play players looking to aim at a top Alliance spot, you still had the option to save up for July 4th unit offers, Cyber Monday unit offers, and they would be within a reasonable scope of, I think, about 9,000 units. Is initially, I think, where they started. 9,000 seems insane now, but then we moved up to 15,000 over time, and that was still somewhat possible. If you were playing this game, if you were still grinding out arena on a regular basis, you could get those thresholds now. But in the year 2025, we're probably going to have something like 8 to 10 different types of sale. We've progressed so far from the 2 to 3. We've 8 to 10 kind of major sales. We've got the battle pass. We've got premium hero tracks. We've got these web store milestones that associate with the sale. We've got, these mega ticket bundles that accumulate off like the daily specials as well. There's just so much monetization at a speed that is incredibly aggressive. And I think also to throw this on top of everything, of like, we now want energy to become more of a problem. And it's important that players spend units on energy refills when free-to-play players, at least the most hardcore, are probably thinking from, this is just an assumption here, but if I was a very hardcore free-to-play account, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, the gifting event, it was super expensive last year. I need to probably get about, 15,000 to 21,000 plus units if I want to get all these higher tier milestones, probably about 21,000 plus if I want to be safe and get the really good things. And then this is coming along and it's like, oh, okay, well, we expect you to constantly spend 30 units on energy refills as well if you just want to play the game. That experience you had in Battlegrounds where you had free entry before, this isn't going to be the case. You're going to need to manage your energy much more efficiently if you want to play this game. And also, it's like this compounding thing of if you're free to play and a lower spender, you need to play Battlegrounds more because you are going to lose more to the people that are buying into these massive array of offers. So the less you spend, the more energy per match you're going to need to pay, in the grand scheme of things, because you're just going to be losing. You queue into a match, there's a big blubbery boy, he's got like 27-star rank 4s, and you immediately know you're cooked. I've had these matches as well as somebody catching up, and it really doesn't feel good, and that's just using Elder's Marks for entry. And I think when you have the cost of energy per entry per match as well, that's gonna feel even worse. So yeah, there is that second point about they'll be adding more energy refills back into the economy to account for the removal of the Elder's Marks. But this is just I don't trust it. I don't believe it. Obviously, they've got a clear goal for energy, right? They want to add a level of friction to playing the game, and they want people to spend more units on energy refills. Those are the clear goals that Kabam have here. And I just think, I just don't have faith in this is they're going to pull this off well. I don't think they're going to balance it well. I think it's going to be a lot more oppressive than it is. And it's at a time where the game, I would say, is just not in a great place, I think it's very far from the identity that made it successful. And I think they have a lot of reflecting to do about where they want to get the contest to in the next 12 to 24 months that's going to allow it to survive for the decade ahead. Because I think the pace that they've been on in the last 6 to 12 months is not sustainable at all, at least in my opinion. So I want to see them really start to take ownership and accountability of the things that they put out and be proud as soon as things go out that, hey, this is a great experience. We've really done something that players are going to like, and we feel like there's going to be an immediate positive reception to this new piece of content. I want to see them putting out stuff that they think the player base is really going to enjoy and resonate with. And we're just very far away from that at the moment. And maybe that's, too ambitious. Maybe that's too hopeful. But it's so hit and miss at the moment, the releases from Marvel Contest of Champions. But the real miss is, I'm like, did anybody actually play this and think about the reception from the wider player base? What are we making? Monthly content? Who's it targeted toward? I can understand, maybe stuff like, Wheel of Fate, Epoch, Crucible, that's targeted toward a very hardcore audience, but they need to get the core content, the monthly content right. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, overall, I've just been really disappointed the last couple of weeks, man. I think, Kabam have just been dropping so many L's, and it's really disheartening to see, especially when they've got to push complete updates and revamps to things. And I think in some regard, the community is open to change, but when you release this stuff and it's so poorly planned and thought out, you lose that trust, you lose that faith. And I think this is kind of another sign of hey, more big changes coming. Trust us, guys, we'll get it right. And you've just exhausted that. You don't have any of that at the moment. People have just played really crappy content for the last couple of weeks and had a lot of bad experiences. And needs to be resolved, you know, if you want to move this game forward in a positive direction. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for watching. I'm gonna head back to bed because I still feel terrible. Take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.